Saturday night in San Francisco. Let's go around the room here. Let's look. We have some artwork here. Is that the original there?
Yeah.
Alexander?
Yeah. It's my brother, Kurt McCracken. Yeah.
No way.
Kurt McCracken Ceramics. He made that.
No way, dude. That is styling, man.
Yeah.
That is the centerpiece here.
I think he calls it like music in motion.
Music in motion. Okay. Okay. Now we're moving around. Let's check this out here. Man, I tell you, man, I feel like I'm back in Tokyo. You know, that's what it feels like right here. Like in Tokyo, my friend had an art studio. We'd go over there and the same view of the Tokyo Rainbow Bridge. Just freaking beautiful. So what's up, guys? Let's hear the shouts. Who's looking at the computer? Just read them out loud. Read the shouts. Go to the live. I see a bunch of guys shouting there. Yeah! I see you there. Who is that? Say their names and everything.
We got Backward Glance.
Talk loud, yeah.
What's up, fellas? Backward Glance. We got Chris Fondue,
Chris Fondue, yeah.
Kyle Sterling. Nice location, he says.
Nice location, dude. Big time, big time.
John Galt says, I like the painting.
Okay, okay.
Nice, John. That's all we got so far.
It's for sale, you know, $49.95. You know? All right. All right, so this one is a Q&A, all right? So hit with your questions. The guys here got questions. And come up to the mic, ask questions. If you got a shitty question, we won't answer it. But, but if it's a good question, man, hit us with it. And let's share it with the other guys. Because I know everybody's got questions, right? I got questions. I might come up with some questions, right? Yeah. Yeah, I might come up with some questions. So start hitting me with some questions.
So first question we have listed is, what are your thoughts of San Francisco?
What are my thoughts of San Francisco?
Yeah.
My thoughts of San Francisco, man, it is so different being here with you guys than it ever was before. You know, just by myself. When I came here in college, when I've been here, it's been like, you know what it has? It's been always the same shit. It's like, we're going to go to Fisherman's Wharf. We're going to go have this food at this place. Like, it's like a set thing with people. Most people, like really, as nice as they are, they're very boring. And they just want to do the standard tourist stuff. Whereas with you guys, we've been having interesting conversations wherever the hell we are, right? You know what I mean? In the park or wherever, at the Chinese restaurant. We got the greatest deal for $8.25, 2.16 pounds of food. Yeah, in San Francisco for $8.25, and good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're like Chinatown Part 2, I think.
Yeah.
You see the movie Chinatown? The old movie? Yeah, there was an old movie, Chinatown. Jack Nicholson. Was this San Francisco?
Yep.
Was it? I thought it was.
I think so.
I think it
It might
is.
have been LA, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was San Francisco because they had the big gate, I think. All right, I see some questions coming up here. So yeah, I would say that your whole life is different depending on who you're with and your mindset. So for me, being here now, I can start to feel what it's like to live here, you know, and have friends here and cruise around here and wake up here and look around here, you know. Whereas I felt like my life before traveling was like, I don't know, it was like it wasn't real. Nothing was really real. I was just a visitor in a fake landscape, you know. Now I feel like it's real. It feels very like walking down the streets. We walked all the way here from Richmond District, right? Yeah. So that's a good walk. I don't know how many steps that is, but we saw a lot of shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing is it was hard to take a picture. So we're going to try it for you guys. We're going to try
I'd
to...
say probably, it was at least a good 3-mile walk, I would say.
Okay, I think more than that,
Three
dude.
and a half. Well, it's 7 miles
We-
wide. The whole city is 7 miles wide. And you see
It was 3 miles just
maybe 4 miles. Maybe
It was
4
3 miles to Japantown, he says.
Yeah, we were walking for
Yeah.
beyond that. So.
We did a good walk, and there's a lot of hills, so it seems more.
4.5,
Right.
then maybe 4.5.
Yeah, it was good, and we were going to go all the way back, but then we, you know, Alexander, Mr. Smith here, he had a plan, and it was a good plan. So
Yeah.
here we are looking at the view.
Saw you guys here.
Yeah. So, all right, so hit the questions. If you guys read them from here, read them from you guys. David, you haven't been in almost any of these ones. We want to hear some questions. Anything you've been wondering about, you've been thinking about, you want to ask the guys, you want to ask me, you know, hit questions. Just go.
Yeah, so I can just read from this list that we put together, questions that we were all thinking about.
The powerful one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were 28 in today's world, what would you say to your younger self?
If I was 28 in today's world, well, there's two things, right? What would you say to yourself when you're 28? And the other one is in the world we're in today.
Yeah, if like you're 28 today,
Yeah.
like how would you coach yourself to really
I coach myself. I think that I mean, lately I've just been thinking, I don't know if this would be the answer, but lately I've just been thinking, especially having gone through a court case and realizing how brutal America is to men in the court system, you know, I think I would talk to older guys and listen to them about their court cases. Because I think a lot of guys are out there wandering the streets. We were just down here. We were just down in the water, and like guys were on dates. There was some dude getting married to a white chick, and he was like happy. I mean, I think that they have no idea how brutal and dishonest and really inhumane and terrible. I'm not kidding. Like seriously inhumane the court system is. You don't want to ever go to death row, right? Would you guys agree? Like, where do you not want to go? Like, you don't want to go to
San Quentin, right down the road.
You don't want to go to San Quentin, right? You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to be in a fire. You know, there's a lot of things that you just wouldn't want to happen. I think it's important for young guys to understand that if you are with a girl today, it's just you are subject to that. If you're married, especially in California, I think it's everywhere, but California is pretty brutal. It is pretty brutal here. I wasn't in California, but like I know California is really tough. Like I was asking guys since I've been here, right? I've been asking guys. I'm answering the question in a long way, right? I was asking guys that came to the house, like they asked me about what do you do? I said, well, I have a channel for men, and I kind of told them a little bit. I don't usually tell people my channel. Because I'm not selling it. I'm not selling it to you. I'm not selling it to anybody. I make these videos because I like to make the videos. If people like them, great. You know, so I usually don't even tell them anything. But this one guy was asking a lot, this Mexican guy who came to put the internet on. So I was helping my friend move. And he said, what's your channel? I said, I didn't tell him my channel. I said, it's, men's channel. I told him a little bit. And then he said, terrible situation. And he told me his life. Basically what happened to him was he's here in California, right? So he hired a woman to take care of his child because his wife had died. So he had a child, and so she was living with him. He was paying her a salary. So he was working super hard, and he was paying this woman to be a nanny. And then for about 11 years. And then when he finally didn't need her anymore, she sued him for custody and won.
What?
Yes. She's not the mother. He was paying her a salary, and she sued him. Anybody can sue anybody in California for custody. Anybody. I could literally go down there, get someone's name down in the water, and sue them for custody of their child and make up a bunch of lies, and the court would listen to it. Now, if I was a woman especially. So he told me it was $140,000 for the lawsuit to win. And he lost his child for 3 years, his daughter. So that's the situation. And I think a lot of people, when they hear a story, younger guys it's not about women. It's just about what you need to do, like smart decisions, right? And this is a guy who was never, his wife passed away. He was taking care of the baby. He didn't do anything wrong. I asked him, he had no criminal record. He hadn't done anything. He had paid a salary to this lady. And then she decided that she deserved custody. And she got custody for 3 years. He missed his own daughter from 11 to 14.
Full custody.
I believe he had no access.
Jeez.
Because she made up a bunch of lies about him. And the court took it seriously. And I think a lot of guys, when you hear this, you think this would never happen to me. And that is a very big mistake. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can make as men. It's a mistake so big that you can't afford it. No matter how cool guy you are, no matter how successful you are, you can't mentally afford it. Nobody can. It's inhumane. Like honestly, she should be in prison.
Right.
You know, for kidnapping, and the judge too. But it will never happen. The best you can do is beat dishonest charges, and it will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of custody, of being with your own child. So it is becoming impossible to have a child as a man. You basically cannot have a child anymore. You're just on pins and needles. And this is why guys seem so weak these days. It's not that they're weak. It's that the hammer is over their head and they know it. The women know it. So it's totally hopeless because the natural balance of the relationship is the man is leading the relationship, right? Or at least they're equal, right? Let's just say equal. Okay, fine, equal. The way it is in courts, it's the guillotine. It's the death penalty at any moment from a woman who doesn't even hardly know you, right? So these are the type of things that are actually happening. Another guy we had on the channel, he did a bunch of interview, and he said that the judge ordered him to pay more than his 100% of his salary for child custody and alimony. Now that doesn't, after taxes, and that doesn't make any sense. But that's actually what happened to him. And everybody listening, you're thinking, that's not possible. Like there has to be some rationality to the courts. This could not be going on. But the sad thing is these are true stories.
I heard another story.
Yeah. Come over here.
I heard another story just like that. It was the guy who was in news radio and one actor. I forgot the name of the actor, but he was like the guy who was running the place in that show on news radio.
Yeah.
And so it was only a 5-year period of time where he made the most money he had ever made in his entire career. And then the judge awarded his ex alimony payments based on his highest earning amount he had ever made. And he was making like 50,000, 100,000 per month.
This is why.
And then suddenly, then suddenly he went. Then that show ended, and he was just like a bit player after that. And he was like, Judge, I cannot afford these payments. And then the judge's response to him was, your obligation to pay has no relationship with your ability to pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she just hit the gavel. It was like that. And he then had to leave the country because otherwise he was facing imprisonment.
Yeah.
And now it's like if he comes back, I think to like Canada or something like that, he'll immediately be thrown in prison for fucking 10 years or something.
Right. And the thing is
and he'll get thrown back in prison if he doesn't pay it back. Even if he got out of prison,
yes.
The moment that he has so many days to catch up to the back payments, and if he doesn't catch up, they throw him back in prison again.
Yes.
So it's debtor's prison.
And the thing is like, as a young guy, you're just thinking, no, that couldn't happen. You know, you're walking down Embarcadero, holding hands, the sun's shining, the girl is friendly. You know, if the girl could be the nicest person in the world, but things happen in life where, that's the thing about China when I lost my business is if you allow human beings do things. They have we have human nature. Guys, if you give guys total control, they're going to do some pretty bad things too. Like, you know what I mean? If you look at wartime when there's no courts, no justice, there's a lot of mayhem going on. There's a lot of robbery, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of bad stuff happening because there's no consequences, right? Look what happened in Seattle when there was no police, right? There was a lot of things. Whenever there's no consequences, there are people who will take advantage of it, right? And when you hand, like in China, you start a business with somebody, and then basically the courts say, well, we're going to give it to the local, right? And then the not local guy has no chance, right? And they're going to use that because if you had a choice of $10 or $20 or $1 million or $2 million, which are you going to take? You know what I mean? It's just like human nature, right? You can't give people those opportunities because they will take advantage of it. I mean, forget women for a second. This is the truth about you too. That's why there's police. That's why there's surveillance. It's for us too. We all struggle with our dark side, right? And that's why people contribute to society. Is they feel like, well, there's enough fairness in the system that I will contribute, right? But if it's too unfair, people just won't. And it's the same with monkeys, right? When they give monkeys grapes, right? And then they have 2 monkeys, they give grapes, one monkey gets 1 grape, the other monkey gets 1 grape. They start giving 2 grapes to the other monkey, and the other monkey will stop refusing and he'll start shitting and throwing it through the thing and just going crazy because it's unfair. And the monkey's like, fuck this, I'm not into this. And that is the way we are built too. And you can see it in monkeys, you know? So it's in us too, right? It's not fair. And that's what's happening. So as a young man, I really am sad with a sad heart saying this too, because I don't want it to be this way. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for women. I don't think women understand the long-term consequences of the inhumanity that is going on to men. I don't think the most people, before I had this channel, I wouldn't have known. You listening don't know as many stories as I know, because people write me emails. So, you know, like, let's say, you know, Connor here, you don't know as much. You don't know how dark it is, because people aren't telling you stories all the time, right? So you're kind of like, well, it's okay, you know, a couple guys, and then you see people and they're bitter, and you're like, that's the kind of guy to be bitter about Starbucks coffee, right? And you start to think that to yourself. When you read a lot of the stories, when you hear about the suicides, when you see the actual judgments, you start to realize that it's like this incredibly terrible time in human history. And there's no respite for men. There isn't. It's worse than I'm saying. You know, so it is a machine that will chew you up. So my advice to myself, to answer your question, would be that it's not about being bitter. It's just about knowing the reality of the new world. And just, you know, if you're going to do something, you got to do it very, very smart. Don't do it normal. You know, I can't say what would be. I think men, and this is what nobody wants to understand, is that men are human beings. You know, and they have feelings, and they love their offspring. You know, it's like that is not understood today. Nobody believes that. They believe men are bad and they deserve to be in jail and to be commit suicide. That's actually what society believes. And you read any article about a guy, and if there's a dishonest, false allegation, there's no persecution in custody. So they think that it's okay to call someone the worst things that a man could be called. And then for it to be cleared up, and then no penalty. That's actually what that's the courts right now. You know, there's a group in Vegas that they are actually petitioning, I think it's called War on the Courts or something. It's something like that. And they're petitioning the FBI to get involved, because they're like, the family courts can't handle this. It's like they're going crazy. Like they're just like, it's a big group, like 1,500 people. Guys, you know, like lawyers are losing. Like child custody lawyers that are top notch, that are making the most money. This is their specialty. They have no criminal record. They're losing their kids. You think you're going to hire a lawyer? He lost his kids. That's what I found out about my lawyer. So that's what I'm saying. You think, see, you have these assumptions that if you had enough money, you know, if you had $1 billion, if you were Bill Gates, you'd win. The lawyer won't tell you, but he lost his kids. That's how it is. There's no fucking hope right now. Like, don't do it. Do not get into that situation. Whatever it takes. If you need to go overseas, or you just need to not do it, don't have kids. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you need to do, find a way that you don't deserve to be treated like that. You know, so I would tell myself, like, take it more seriously. You realize that it's a, you know, you look at human history. We've had these things before. We had, what do we have? What was it? The Inquisition.
Yep.
We had the Inquisition. We had the burning of the witches. The Salem witch trials. What else have we had? We've had, in Japan, after the earthquake in, I think it was 1906, they went around just killing Koreans because there was a rumor that they poisoned the water supply, and they just went around and they, you know, and so there's been these crazy, like lynchings. You look in the South, you know, you look at slavery, you look at these type of things.
The hunt for communists in the 60s, the Great Scare.
That one I disagree, and I have very good reason for disagreeing on that. Someday I'd like to talk about that. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that one. But it's a subtle response, so it's not clear. I'm not saying I'll get into it sometime. But there's been these times where human beings just all, you know, like imagine the witch trials, right? All you needed was one. Witch trials were basically one girl taking out another girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one girl saying, it would be like, say, one girl, she liked a boy, and that boy liked the other girl. So she would say, oh, I saw, Alicia floating by the woodpile last night. She's a witch. And then they would kill her, and then she was gone. She would get the guy. So that was what was going on.
And then the story would stay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's permanent once the person's dead, And so there's been, I think for young men need to understand that there's been crazy times in history, and these times pass. They do. It seems hopeless, but humanity gets its shit together eventually. It does. It just takes time, but we're in that time right now. We are living in a time when there is like no hope for guys to go that direction. So I would say that you need to know that as a young man, because if you're a normal, natural, healthy guy, your deepest longing is for deeper meaning in life, right? You want this, and it's the hardest thing to say that it's not the smart thing to get involved in, So this is not the specifics of what to do, but it's just the reality of what's going on, So I would tell myself, like, fully digest that. The Western world, no. It could possibly work out in other countries because they don't have custody. The thing about family courts is they only exist in a few countries.
Okay, so that's the main thing. Only have kids in a country that doesn't have a family court system.
Well, there are countries like Japan where they don't respect the Hague Convention, and they allow women to basically kidnap the children. Not basically, to kidnap the children and take your children away. So this is a very big problem. If you read in the news, it's a huge problem in Japan. So they don't have child custody in Japan. They don't have family courts, but the women are basically the expected caregivers, and they can kidnap your child anytime they want. And there's really not that much you can do about it. So that is a different problem in Japan, but I don't know. It's a mute point because most guys are not going to actually go overseas to do it. But yeah, thanks. You're not going to actually do it. So how many guys are going to actually go overseas, live overseas the rest of your life, and have kids? I don't know. I'm the one that would go do stuff I want to do, but not that many people take action like that. You've got a life, you've got a job, you've got a house, but there are possible circumstances outside America where it could work. But I think I personally think the only way it's going to change is if there's a real demographic time bomb, where like there's no one's having kids. And then there's going to be, like in Japan, there's no one's having kids. Cities are closing. There's a city and there's like a old woman where she makes dolls in the shape of people who used to live there. It's a good documentary. It's on YouTube. And it's like basically she's recreating the village as it was, but they're all dolls, like life-size dolls all over the city, in the bus, all over the place, in restaurants, because there's no people there anymore. It's like a ghost town. So when society gets to that point, I think that there might be a point where society will listen to men and take men's concerns seriously, because that's what really needs to happen. I don't think we're anywhere near that. So that's why I don't recommend trying to even talk about it, because nobody wants to do it yet. They're not ready. But once something like that happens, demographic time bomb, that's a very painful thing for a country. And I think at some point they will readjust the child custody laws. They will look again at things. Because obviously, if you make false allegations against a guy, and he has to fight those for 100, 140,000, whatever. This is a poor, like, Mexican dude. He's not rich. He does the internet. He basically comes and puts the internet in your house. I don't even know how he paid it. He must have had his parents' help. But that's what's going on. So I say, as a young man, look in the mirror and take this one seriously. Like, there's a few things you got to take seriously. Like, I'm very, serious about certain things. Like, even when I was young and I was wild, I never took opioids because I knew people die with those. they die. It's different than most things. You just have a problem or have trouble. Those ones, I respected them. And there's no way I was going to do them. There's no way, because I knew certain things in life you just can't fuck with, right? I think this is one of those things. I think that's the level. So my advice would be to listen to this as a young man. And of course, it's not a happy thing. But the silver lining is this, you guys, is that you can have a great life. But you just have to know that that's not safe. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be in that position. And so what if there's the one guy who lived? Some guy lived falling out of an airplane. He landed on a tree. It was the perfect width of a branch. It broke his fall. He broke one hip, and I think he broke his leg. That's possible, but it's not going to happen to you. You're going to fall off an airplane, and you're going to be splattered all over the fucking ground, right? That's the reality. So don't think you're special, right? Just accept the reality. And the thing is, here's the thing. All you guys are men. You're capable of doing this, accepting a dark reality and still having a good life. Especially men, because our brains, basically the data cable between the right and left hemisphere is much thinner than women.
Corpus callosum.
Yeah, it's thinner. The women have a much thicker cable between the two brain. And that's why a woman has a difficult time when she's angry about one little thing, about relaxing. She can't compartmentalize her thoughts. Men can totally do it. Men can go to war and then come home. Men can be in a fight with the boss and come home. Whereas women have a much more difficult time with that. There's a great book, Why Women Can't Read Maps and Men Don't Listen. And it's a great book. You should really read it. It goes into the details of that. And when you read it, you will understand why your parents fight. You'll just laugh the whole time to the book. Because you'll be like, God, this is true. Even with your parents. It's just like people you really know. It's like once you understand there's differences in the sexes, So for us, we can compartmentalize. So we can take something like this, a dark reality, and say, well, guess I won't do that. I was planning on doing that higher purpose thing, but I don't think so. And there's a lot out there. There's a lot of other meaning, right? So that's what I recommend with that one as a man to my young 28-year-old man self. Compartmentalize that one and move on. Have a great life. Okay? Next. Hey, what are the questions coming up on the internet?
Yeah, I got them. So John Gull asks, do you think the utilization of smart contracts on the blockchain, the courts might be one day non-existent? So will technology at one day make courts irrelevant?
Yes, I do. I think that there'll be, my feeling is in the future, because I look at the court case I was in, a lot of these court cases are very simple, and it's basically what the judges do in a court case, basically, is this is really what they do. They look at the two people, and they say to themselves, I'm going to trust one person. One person is more trustworthy than the other. Okay, they make simple decisions. They're humans, and they're trying to make the best decision. So they're saying of these two people, one person is more trustworthy. And they're trying to figure out, when they're watching the way you act, they're asking questions, they're listening, they make a decision about who they're going to trust. And that's basically decides the case. Because they're like, that person's lying, that person's honest. Now, whenever they have a question, they'll ask the person they trust. They'll say, what is the real deal here? And I was backing up, and the judge will believe that. Because they don't have a video of what happened. So they have to believe somebody. They'll choose the person that's the least. If there's two people, let's just say theoretically both people are the same level of bad, but they'll find some redeeming quality in one, and they'll say this parent is more trustworthy, and I'll trust their what do you call it? Like their recitation of the events, and that basically makes, because in the end it's what happened, right? The judge wants to know what happened to make a decision, right? So what really happened, right? So so the thing about the court cases is that's actually a very simple thing. The judge does that very quick. How long does that fucking take? Maybe like 2 hours of testimony, or even like 15 minutes of court, because the judges, they ask tough questions and you don't have a chance. You got to answer. And so the judge makes a quick decision. So I would say they're probably going to have some kind of an app where you'll log in and it'll be like let's say it's a fence post on your lawn or not, or a broken window in your neighbor, or whatever. And he's going to say, okay, what you're going to put in everything. You're not uploading the app, everything that happened in the court case, your version of events. And the other guy is going to put his version, and then you'll place for the legal citations. This law is irrelevant because of this. And then the judge is going to look at it. There's going to be like a 15-minute online thing with the app. And the judge is going to make a decision right then. I think that's the future of law. It's going to be all basically IT online. There'll be a judge. It'll be quick, and everything will be over.
But still a human judge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Human judge. Far in the future, we'll see other things. But now, the judge might be using assisted artificial intelligence, and they're already using that for legal research. Yeah, they're already using artificial intelligence for legal research, and it's very good too. It's better than a paralegal already. So the judges will use things to help them make a decision. But in the end, we like human judges. We like somebody sitting there. And so, yeah, that's what I think. It'll be a lot quicker and a lot less legalese. Like you'll be able to say, just like you think about America, right? When I left, people had a lot more class than they do now. People dressed nicer. People didn't say dirty words as much. People were careful about you know what I mean? People had better manners when I left America. Trust me. 30 years ago, it's a different world. It's a different generation, right? And so I think that the courts will accept that, and you'll be able to basically talk the way you talk in court. There won't be those kind of rules like you have to say these weird words or you have to watch your words, because the courts will accept that. I think there'll be less need for lawyers because they just want to know what's the fucking story. Because the thing about the lawyers is they can turn the story, right? If I was a judge, I just want to know. I want to hear what happened, ask some questions. I want to talk to you and I want to talk to you. I don't want you hiding behind a lawyer because then I don't really know what you think, right? So I think it's going to become more and more practical, quicker, and there's going to be less legalese. And there'll be a lot more people representing themselves and less lawyers, unless it's a complicated case. But most cases are simple. So I think that's the future is more IT. And like you imagine, like there's a hilarious clip on YouTube. Have you ever seen Ricky in Court? Oh, it's freaking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Just search Trailer Park Boys or TPB Ricky in Court. Yeah. TPB Ricky in Court is hilarious. That will be more like court cases in the future. He's like, he's like trying to say, he's a effing bad guy. And he's like, I haven't had smoke in days and I'm ready to go crazy. And he goes, I can't represent myself if I can't smoke and swear. He's like, this is a mistrial, whatever. And she's like, okay, you have permission to smoke and swear in my classroom. They're in my courtroom. And then he goes on and just tells the story. I think it's hilarious, but that's how comedy is. It tells the future. So watch Ricky in Court. There's the future. I see a lot of comments coming.
Yeah, there's a lot. Backward glance is a fun one.
Talk loud.
All right. Backward glance asks, Ronin, what's your favorite healthy food?
My favorite healthy food?
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Because I eat, but see, here's the thing, man. It's all about variety. You need variety. Because if you eat the same food, my favorite food is variety. You got to have variety because there's trace minerals in different foods. And that's why different colors of foods have different vitamins. Underground and overground vegetables are very different, like roots under the ground. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, these things are underground. Overground, and then you have leafy green things, and then you have, there's all these different, visually different things, and they help you to get a variety.
Yeah. Non-singular, non-specific, as you were saying.
Yeah, but non-binary, non-specific. Yeah, no, that's right. That's my new introduction, Ronin man. But it's like that. A lot of variety. Don't get stuck in a rut. Don't eat at the same restaurant. Don't eat the same way. When I show you guys like my meals, I'm not saying eat that every meal. Like a lot of people misunderstand. That's just one of a million meals. I really would like to give more variety, but I don't know how to do it without having too many videos about food. If you guys have any idea of the solution to that, because I'd like to show more a variety of stuff to eat, and also I haven't done that many dinners yet. It's all been breakfast. And there's not much protein in breakfast, most of my, so I'd like to give you a better variety. So just the thing is don't travel. I mean, see new shit, because the thing is you have sex with new girls, you see new things, you see views like this. This view here, you can see in Asia all the time. Fucking killer views, Asia is beautiful, man. Yeah, and plus you'll be fucking a hot girl against the glass here, and looking at this view, which is much better. Yeah, the view is even better, yeah.
Both
So
views are great.
yeah. So like, travel, because travel automatically gets you out of yourself. New foods. You can't be the same person when you travel. So that forces you to try new things. If you have any trouble like changing, just go. Come, like if you've never gone overseas, come to a summit when we do one in Thailand or something, or Japan. You will it's just like you will come back energized, right? How'd you feel after the Japan summit?
Oh, it was amazing. I had gone to Japan once a couple of years before, and I'd been meaning to come back at some point. And so when I saw, it's when I started watching Ronin's videos and then following him for a couple of years. Then suddenly he's like, "Oh, we're doing this summit event in Japan," and I was like, "That's my excuse to go." And I went back, and I was just like, "Oh, now I remember why I love this place so much."
It fired everybody up. I swear to God, that was one of the best summits of all time.
And it was cool because it had this. What was cool about it was
we were high-fiving.
Yeah.
Everybody got laid.
And you were because
everybody got laid with normal girls.
Right.
One guy had a hammock and was screwing girls in the park.
Yeah.
In this hammock, it was hilarious. Yeah.
But like one thing I liked,
even the 45-year-old guy who could barely walk with us, he got laid.
Right.
Yeah.
And like in the videos, because Ronin would refer to his time in Japan so many times in so many videos, that it was kind of like being in his own stomping ground.
I wanted to show you guys my world in Japan. That's why I was doing.
Because he was so familiar
It wasn't
since
just a
he'd been
Japan
there.
trip. It was Japan through my eyes of my experience.
Right, yeah.
Where I sorted out everything that was bullshit,
Yeah.
'Cause so much is bullshit, right?
So that's what I was really looking forward to. Is just like, okay, understanding Japan through Ronin's
We're gonna
perspective.
do another one, probably next summer, hopefully, and it's gonna be even deeper because we're gonna, if you guys can do longer, maybe we'll do the summit and then we'll do like a surf trip down the coast for 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Get a van. We're gonna go from Tokyo to Osaka, take like 2 or 3 weeks along the coast, fishermen's daughters, beautiful coves, fucking surfing, like insane sushi sashimi with the guy takes it out of the water, like so fun, like summertime, pink bikinis, cutie pies smiling and giggling all over the place. Like we're gonna have a great time.
All right.
But it's
I'm
gonna
definitely
be a
there.
longer
I'm
one.
definitely
So
there. I'll be
we
there
might
for
have
sure.
a 2-part for the guys can only do like the summit in Tokyo, and then we go down and like Kyoto is amazing. Kyoto is so amazing that the U.S. military did not bomb the city because it was so amazing. They wanted to save it for the future, and Japan put most of their military in Kyoto, and so even then we didn't bomb it. Wow. Because it was so amazing, and that's why Kyoto it's mind-boggling. Kyoto is amazing. Like I know Kyoto really, really well because I don't just go to Kyoto. Like I fell in love with Kyoto, so I would go there for 2 or 3 weeks a lot, and I had like a really great. It's not there anymore, unfortunately, but there was a youth hostel. It was like $10 a night, and it was a really cool place. It was called Uno House, but it's not there anymore. So I could go there cheap. I go there anytime, and I could just kind of hang out and live there basically, and go to and not be a tourist, right? Kind of really get a feeling of the place. The girls in Kyoto are very friendly. Like I've had a lot of crazy. I could tell you some very crazy sexual experiences in Kyoto with more than one girl's crazy fun. And it's just a great town because it's got that craziness. Like you go at night and there's girls dancing in miniskirts like in a club, and then you have like the most serious, somber, like monk chanting and like eating vegetarian, and then like you're looking at the oldest history of Japan and you're learning like things the serious and the somberness and the curiosity, like everything is there. Like if you see it right, if you don't see it right, you're just gonna see a bunch of convenience stores. Because that's the thing about Kyoto. You gotta see the right way. You know, I'll try to, if we do, that'd probably be the best way to end it is go to Kyoto. Hopefully the Chinese tour buses won't be there yet. Because when COVID came, they all stopped coming. And that changes the vibe at some of the temples we might go to. But yeah, it's gonna be good, right?
I'm going to that, no matter what.
It's gonna,
I'm
it's
going to
100%.
that.
I'm totally serious. It's
100%.
so fucking fun.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
It's so good. So, yeah, and I appreciate that you guys trust me enough to follow me. Because a lot of guys that when you tell them to go somewhere, they'll just like, thanks for the advice. And they just go on the standard. I got to see this. I got to see that. It's like, we're going to go in the back house. We're going to go on the building. We're going to go underground. We're going to go, you know, I know where there's like underwater caves, you know, like we're going to see all kinds of shit. We're going to see all kinds of cool shit. Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going for more than just the 3 days. Definitely, I'll do the.
Yeah, do a longer one. Yeah.
No
We got to
amount.
plan it out. We got to have enough guys. We got a van or two vans.
Yeah.
Rentals are cheap because there's basically no lawyers in Japan. So like rentals of car is super cheap. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We can rent a car like no problem. Or we could hitchhike. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
We can do both.
Yeah.
You know, I've hitchhiked all over Japan. It can be hard.
Because you have a
But-
big group, that's the only thing.
Other times I get picked up and girls talk about penis size in the car with me alone. I'm like, foreigners and penis size. I'm like, that's a great topic, you know. We can do some research right here about that, you know. We got some, yeah. We don't have to like wonder too long about this. We can check things out. The situation. What's really going on here? Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of fun stuff. So anyway, so keep going. New questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a language learner. How many languages do you speak, and what languages do you still want to learn, and why?
Okay. So what language did you guys hear that?
Yes.
Can you guys hear that in there? What do I want to learn? I learn languages because there's a reason. Okay, I'm not like studying some like French history of abstract painting in the 1800s. I don't like that. It's always a reason for me. Like I want the win. 10 birds with one stone. So, you know, so for me, I lived in Japan. It was good for everything, you know, and so I was going to learn it. So it's not the language I want to learn. It's like, do I need it? Am I going to use it right now? Is it going to be useful? So I went to Japan, I learned it, and then I did have a hankering to learn Chinese because I was always fascinated with China since I was in 4th grade. And my teacher was a missionary, and she told me about China, and she got me thinking about China, and she got me like making like kanji. I made this wooden thing with Chinese characters when I was in 4th grade, and she told me, we read The Good Earth, that book, the great book, by the way. I don't know if it's worth reading now. In 4th grade, it was great. Yeah. For you 4th graders out there, it's a great fucking book. I don't know about adults. But anyway, but it got me thinking about it. And then, you know, and so I was interested in China. So I went to China, and then also I had the same situation where there was a reason to learn it. So don't try to do things like you need juice, man. See, most of these people out there here are idiots. Remember that. Yeah. You need, what is the reason I'm doing this? Why? You got to be, I think you basically got to live somewhere. If I was going to say, where do I want to live and what language do I learn? I wouldn't mind learning Arabic. It's a big language. So I like languages that are big. A lot of people speak.
Arabic.
Arabic. Yeah, Arabic. You know, something like that where there's a lot of people speaking it. You know, then I'm more interested. Japan, small country, a lot of people.
Okay.
You know, it's almost more than half the population of America. It's a big country, really.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, and China is obviously large. Hindi, I never was particularly interested in, but if I lived there, I probably would get interested. But I haven't been interested in it. So the only thing that's kind of on my mind is Arabic. You know, it's like I want to kind of, I'm a little bit interested in that. Because I was always a fan of Persian culture when I was a kid. Yeah. I always wanted to go to, like my friend's dad, he had a knife he brought back from Iran before the revolution in '79. And it had these like emeralds and stuff in it. And he showed it to me. And as a kid, I was fascinated with that knife. Because it looked, I saw like Aladdin and stuff, you know. You watch like a cartoon. And then it's just like, I just was very fascinated with the whole, you know, pre-revolution, you know, real Persian culture. and also like similar, but like Kama Sutra, Indian culture, or I think it's Kama Sutra is Indian, right? So it's kind of like I was interested in like, and India is like not that different. If you go out near Pakistan, which I did, on the border of Pakistan, out in Jaisalmer and stuff. By the way, just tip, Jaisalmer is one of the most kick-ass cities in the world to visit. It's on the border of Pakistan. It's awesome. Ride a camel, bring a girl, fuck her in sand dunes. The guy's going to make you an awesome meal there under the stars. It is the most romantic thing you've ever fucking seen in your entire fucking life. You're in the middle of the desert. It's just like, it's fucking Aladdin big time. And you start from Jaisalmer. Jaisalmer. Yeah, Jaisalmer. Yeah. You take a camel safari from there, and then, it's like a 2-day, camel safari. You just one night in there. It's cool. It's a little touristy, but don't worry. You're going to have a great time. Yeah, yeah. I hope it's still going on. I'm sure it is, yeah. I did that in 2000. Yeah. And it was like the most, I was with this girl, and I liked her anyway, but man, that was romantic. I mean, her eyes were just so huge because the stars were massive.
Yeah, they got made. Yeah,
we're in this, like, the guy made like a hut for us. Like, he comes and he sets it up for us. We're on a sand dune, and there's a camel sleeping next to us. So they kind of make these weird sounds when they sleep. So his face is right there, like this camel face, next to the fire to stay warm. And then he's cooking the food on the fire, and you're just in the middle of the desert, like silence. And it's just fucking amazing. It's just mind-boggling. The stars are just like, bam, like no lights.
Whoa.
There's nothing there, And then the city of Jaisalmer used to be like, Ayers Rock, like the big rock. Basically what it is big rock, and they built a fortress, like a palace on top for the king or whatever. A guy like that was his palace, and now it's a city. So it's walls around the city on top of this rock. So when you wake up in the morning and you look outside your window, you're looking down on the desert floor from like 40 feet or 50 feet. You're looking down. It's like the colors of the sun bouncing off inside your room, off the desert. It's just insane. It's just like it's really a neat desert too. I was born in the desert, so I know I'm a desert aficionado. I've been all across the Gobi Desert. I dated a girl who lived in the Gobi Desert, her family. So I went out there a lot, and we'd kill a goat and eat the goat. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times, I was out there a lot, actually. Yeah, and so then I was born in the desert. I was born in Phoenix, so I was always in the desert. And then, so I went to deserts in, India and near Pakistan. So, like, I can tell you it's a neat desert. Deserts all have a different flavor. The deserts are really neat. I'd love to do a summit in the desert. Like, I think we should do a summit in the desert. They're pretty fucking awesome. If you're with somebody who knows the desert, it'll blow your mind. It's not like you think. Yeah, it's really cool. It is, I hate to say spiritual. Don't want to get too hairy-fairy. All right. Okay, keep going. Come on, you guys too. Like, what do you guys have been wondering shit?
Questions on the
Are they all there? Okay.
28 GBB says he wants some deeper questions. So
Deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the markers of a successful life?
The markers. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the markers of a successful life?
The amount of friends you have, like close.
The amount of friends. Let's see. What's his name?
28 GBB.
28 GBB. Are you still online?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay, you're there?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you mean markers? You mean visible things? Like things that you can look at and count? What do you mean?
Quantifiable?
Yeah, quantifiable. Yeah. Do you mean quantifiable shit? He says, yeah, okay. Quantifiable. God, quantifiable. I don't think quantifiable is the way to go. Yeah, no. Because everything's true till it's not true.
The number of times.
You know?
The number of times you've been divorced, right?
Well, so
Yeah, right. Divorce raped.
Yeah.
Great.
So you're talking about the quality of your life. That has to be a qualitative analysis. That can't be quantitative.
Yeah, quantitative is like, I think that, I don't mean that you shouldn't search for quantitative things. Like, let's say you want to have a house. You want to have one house. and own it yourself, and you want to have XYZ amount of money in the bank. I think that's good. Like, have a goal like that. Absolutely. Solid goal. And whether you reach it, you can, often when you set a goal, you start to reach that goal and then you realize it wasn't really what you want, or you learn things about the goal you didn't know. Like, maybe you think you want a house, and then you realize like that a lot of people that have houses are not really that happy about having a house because there's a lot of work. It's a lot of, like if you had a choice of something that's difficult to maintain, has taxes, it's subject to typhoons, rain, or if you could just buy a crypto at 5 cents and it goes up to $1,000, which would you rather have? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so often when you set goals, you can't see the other goals. So you think, this is success for me. And then once you start getting towards that goal, you might see other goals. So I think the quantifiable stuff can change. Obviously, like, get married and have kids, right? 2 kids and a house in the garage.
2.1.
That's kind of like the way society does it. It's all visible stuff that you got your gold stars, you can show to everybody.
You got your proof.
You got your proof, yeah.
Receipts.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I'll tell you something. I lost all my pictures of around the world when I was, my early 20s, and of Japan and China, I lost all of them. Not all the Chinese ones, but all the Japanese ones. 16 years of photographs, 16 years of girls, 16 years of travel, excitement, fun, just everything I did, friends. And I left them in a box in somebody's office, and they sold the office, and somebody must have thrown it away. Now, the thing is, I boned his sister, and there was in that box with pictures of other girls. I think she threw it away, but anyway, the box disappeared.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. All my trip around the world. So the reason why I'm telling you that story is because you think you need proof, right? I would say you don't need proof even to yourself. Like, you have a great life, even if you have no memories or proof.
No memories.
Even if you have no memories to even look at. Because in the end, you're in the moment anyway. Don't think about the past that much anyway. It's all building the man you are.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's just another block in the wall of who you are. So build a good wall, and you'll have a great life, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to that one. So try to keep doing things that build yourself. And
So is that it's more of the amount that you've changed over time?
well, just don't even think about like the final result. You're building the blocks because you want that block.
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about the wall. You're just like, that block needs to be in the wall somewhere.
Well, I mean, like, as a marker.
That experience, I got to have that experience. I got to.
Well, like, there's some people I know
Learn
that
that.
literally 5 years go by and they have not changed at all. Like, nothing has changed about them. They haven't developed at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's a marker that they're not going anywhere. Versus someone who you see them a year later and they've like totally expanded themselves in all these different ways. And then you see them another year later and now they've advanced even more and they've like done more to just really, that's why I see those as kind
But
of milestones.
sometimes you're talking about like, again, like things you can see. Because sometimes people can do those changes with a frantic energy of proving to others. So beware of those things. Beware of people. Because just like I said, when the courts give women total control, they abuse it, right? And beware of other people, like what they're trying to teach you. I do my very, very best to present stuff in a way that can give you an idea of what it really means, right? Because I could present my life totally differently. And you would have this idea that I have to go to India, I have to do this, I have to do that because that's the answer. And there's that story I read and I never forgot it, is the boy and the sailor, right? Did I tell this before?
I've heard that one,
Yeah. And so the boy is listening to the sailors telling these stories to this boy. And he always talks about the blue, I think it's the blue sand under the emerald trees or the skies or whatever. He had these like story of the winds and it was like basically he was talking about the South Pacific and some beautiful island, right? And he was telling him the story, and the boy was so fascinated with that. The boy was in love with this girl. He wanted to. This is pre-family courts. It's like 1,000 years ago, whatever. He was like he wanted to do. He had a life track he was on, but the guy's stories changed him so much that he told her no, and then he left and she married somebody else. And then he went out on his journey, and then he came back. And then the girl, who still loved him, she said, "Did you find, the green sand by the trees?" And like he had described it to her. And he said, "It was just fucking sand, man. It was just a fucking tree." So don't allow yourself to be lied to by somebody else's experiences. It's just fucking sand, man. You know what I mean? Like your vision of the world is your vision. You know what I mean? So listen and learn and try. And obviously, like, I was very inspired by other guys. But beware of this romanticism and this where you're just like going off blindfolded into this. You're leaving things that you value in your life, right? I need to live this other guy's life. I need to do this. I'm not saying, like I took radical steps and I recommend radical steps, but just beware of that. Just know that story is true, right? That's why these stories stick around, because there's truth to them, right?
Don't chase other people's fantasies.
Yeah, I mean, like the best speech ever. I mean, my favorite speech ever is Steve Jobs at Stanford. Don't live someone else's life. Don't try to live someone else's life. That speech is incredible. I mean, whatever you think about that guy's speech is fucking out of control. I watch that speech whenever I think about it. I'll just be like, I gotta watch the speech again. Because it's just so good. So much in there, right? So beware of that. And at the same time, there are times when it's the opposite. When you find somebody that they have what you want, and you really fucking want it, and you know it, and only they have it. Like I had this friend, Chris, that I talk about once in a while, but Chris, he was an Asia fucking rat. He was this guy, I call him an Asian rat. He could survive in Asia in any situation. You probably can't understand what I'm talking about. He was a very unusual cat, but probably the coolest guy I ever met, right? And he was such an unusual guy. He was basically, if I told you about him, you wouldn't understand. He was basically homeless in Asia. He was so talented, this guy. He was such an unusual guy, but he lived such a strange life. But it's these kind of guys that I met that when you listen to my experiences, I've integrated these other people's good points. I learned from Chris. He was such an unusual character. He really was. And I learned he was the best pickup guy ever existed. I mean, this guy was beyond amazing. Like you would say to Chris, you'd say, "Let's go pick up girls." And you're like, okay. 20 minutes later, you'd have your hand inside of something with some girl between some building or something. And it was not just talk. It was going down. Like, I'm serious. Like, from standing here in this room, 20 minutes, you're like making out with some girl, taking her panties off, and you're trying to get alone with her. Like, he was just the best. And it was me and him together. It was hilarious. And I learned a lot from him. I never copy anybody's game, but I learned more about life and the way things work, right? So Chris was a very unusual person. And so when I met Chris, and it wasn't that, you guys. This is not what Chris was. Chris was way more than that. Chris was wisdom and love and friendship and creativity and like everything. He had so much. As soon as I met him, I said, "This guy's one in a billion. I got to follow this guy. I got to figure this guy out because there's no one like the guy. I had to figure him out. I had to figure out what is he doing, how does he see life, right? So there'd be people like that in life. So at the same time, you beware those dishonest people, because what they're doing is they're selling you dreams. Yeah. Fuck buying dreams, right? But at the same time, when you meet somebody rare, don't be so stupid that you're like, I didn't read in a book that this guy was this, There's no stamp on his forehead. He doesn't have a business card that says this. And you have to like, those people, they look at a building, they're like passing by. Then they read, oh, this is historic because of those little eaves and this color and the French this and that. And then all of a sudden they're talking about it for 30 minutes. These type of idiots, don't even talk to them again. Get the fuck out of there. Because they're just buying dreams and selling dreams. And they're going to sell you a dream. That's why I avoid telling stories about like famous people like Jimi Hendrix. I try not to because I don't know Jimi Hendrix. Right? You know what I mean? So beware these guys. This is one little thing I'll say. I'm not saying it's just a red flag. It doesn't mean he's full of shit. But if you have somebody who's like, they talk about these famous people and tell you these stories with emotion, like, what do they know? They're just reading the history that was written down somewhere. There was this girl giving a tour of Boston, and she's like, do you want to join? And I'm like, were you here during this war? No. Do you know anything about this war? There's nothing. It's just repeating. Americans do this all the time. When you go on an American tour, it's such a fucking joke. Like, you just stand around with a bunch of people listening to dreams being sold to you. That's what a tour is in America. You're looking at a wall, and like, at this wall, this happened. This guy was angry about that, so he did this, and they did that, and they didn't agree with this. Listen, a tour should be, if you ever have a tour, it should be somebody like, I got shot here, and those motherfuckers over there, and here's what happened. We went down, we tried to do this, that didn't work, and then we did that. That's a tour. He's showing you. See that tree? You can't hit it from that. And he's telling you, he's showing you he was there. That's a tour. The guy knows. So those people with those real experiences. And so when you're talking about a famous person, I guess there are circumstances and there are certain historical figures that I do somewhat like their stories, but beware, man, it's all selling dreams, basically. Fucking history textbooks is all selling dreams. Don't be buying and don't be selling. Don't be selling. Listen, beware the fucking guy. I fucking hate these guys. These 1960s San Francisco was awesome guys. There's like, I don't know, there's like 1,000 million billion times more people who say they were Woodstock than actually fitted in that place. Like it's like, like there's so many people who say they were at Woodstock. And young guys are like, he's the real deal. He went to Woodstock. He probably wasn't. He's bullshitting you, man. He wasn't in fucking Woodstock. I've had many people. There's a guy I know, and his name's Sam, and he told me he was Woodstock. I looked at his eyes. This guy is a junkyard dog. There's no way this guy was in Woodstock. So beware these bullshitters, because losers are selling dreams. And don't be one of those guys, because we are all capable. That's what I'm saying. It's not like us versus them. Beware yourself. Beware yourself. Don't sell dreams, and don't buy dreams.
But before we get too far away from that topic,
And that's what history is.
yeah. But before we get too far away,
That's
from
why you fucking travel. Because you see things.
But
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Before we get too far away from that topic, I wanted to say that you hit the nail on the head. That's the reason that I've been so afraid to like go out and do that thing, because I've got a really good life. Everything is stable and everything good. And if I go out and like risk it all to go out and do that thing, it might just turn out to be a fantasy, something that I heard
Yep.
that I thought
Yep.
is real, and then it's just totally.
That's why I'm not encouraging you to do it yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
turned out to just be
because I don't know. Okay, so I just had 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I was talking to Gabe in New Jersey, and Gabe was gonna make a very big decision. And I said, man, you do not know what you have, man. You got it going on. Why people tell you to do this thing is because they're jealous and they want you to lose it. My friend Drinking Dave, this happened years ago. He came to me. He said, listen, man, he was very high up in Goldman Sachs. He was making tons of money. He was a very good looking guy, and he was like, he had chicks. He had everything, man. He had everything. He's smart. He's funny. He's a good friend. He's just had chicks. He's like, he had everything. He could camp with me. He could do whatever the hell we were doing. You know, sneak into a temple at night. You know, we were all kinds of fun stuff, right? Camp in the park, whatever. He was totally down for that. And he was down for laughing. He was down for a 3-hour swim. And he was also able, you know, had like 1,000 employees in India when he went over there, heading up a huge part of Goldman Sachs, right? You know, and so he had it all. And so his friend, who fell into the trap of jealousy, I believe, was telling him, because Dave was saying, hey, I want to quit all the time. And his friend was telling him, yeah, man, like go quit and go live your dreams. And this is a true story. I said, Dave, I said, listen, I don't usually say these things because I don't want to put down another guy, but this is too dangerous. I said, listen, beware that motherfucker. He's jealous of you. He's jealous of you. And that's why he's trying to let you quit. I said, I'm jealous of you. If you quit, it's easy on my fucking self-esteem because you got it all. He had a 3-story house in Montesando, a panty dropper. I mean, this is like the best part of Tokyo. This is where the chicks, they're just like, it's a panty dropper. They come in the door, tell them to leave the panties at the door, they will. Yeah. Wow. It's a panty dropper, right? He had everything, you know. And the thing is, the guys were telling him to quit. And I said, listen, people are jealous of you, Dave. I'm jealous. I told him, I said, I'm jealous of you. Part of me would like to tell you to do that because I know you will, because he trusted me. I said, but don't do it. You got way too much going on. Don't fucking do it. These people are jealous. That's why they're telling you that. You have a great life. And he looked at me and he was shocked. He was, because I don't even remember how I said it, but it was with a serious sense of urgency. He looked at me, he goes, oh my God. He's like, you're 100% right. And he didn't quit. And then he called me many years later and he said, we never talked about it after that. He called me many years later and he said, look, he was leading India. He was leading the India team. And he said, look, man, here's the deal, is now I really want to quit. But I want to thank you so much for caring about me enough to tell me back then. But he says now, because he really trusts my advice. He says, look, I really want to quit. Like, I'm ready. I'm done. I understand. I've done everything. I get a big package now. He said, I want to quit. What should I do? And I said, are you drinking? Because I call him Drinking Dave because he's always slipping, right? I met him in A, but he's always slipping. So I said, are you drinking? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, here's what you do. He said, you need to get fired because you'll get another year of compensation. So, yeah. So I said, look, start getting drunk before work. Yeah. And go to work. He said, I'll get fired. I said, yeah. Because he's been fighting it against it, for many years. You got to do the right thing. I said, no, that's good. I said, get totally wasted. And then go to work and just be an idiot and then have them talk to you and then apologize and say you'll do better. And then come back the next day drunk again. And so he did. He did. He went, he did it. He went in, he got drunk every day. He got fired. And he got a huge compensation package for that. And it was right before the '08 crisis when all his friends with the same job got fired and nothing. Oh. Yeah. So I gave him the perfect advice at the perfect time. And it was one of those one shot, one kill advice. And I'm like patting myself on the back like, yes.
Where's he at now?
Yeah, he's in New Jersey. Yeah. Actually, he's in Cambodia today. He's in Cambodia. Yeah. So, the thing is to really nail life, you gotta do it right. But don't buy dreams, don't sell dreams, and know what you have. And when you make a decision, you have to do it with the sense of, I know what's going on. And I know what I have here. It's not just some sand. It's not just fucking blue sand. And also, it's not leaving the thing you love, right? So it's be both those things. You have to know. And once you do know with that mature sense and also educated sense, then you'll make a good decision. Because you'll know you're doing it and you'll take responsibility. You'll be ready to do it. So you're still not ready. You're still immature. You're not ready on this decision. But when you're ready, you will come to me with an assurance and you'll be like, Ronin, I know. Here's what's going on. And here's what I want to do, but how should I do it, or something like that.
Okay.
Because it'll come from inside you, right?
Okay.
So that's what I say. That's why I say wait until that is. Because I don't want to sell you dreams, and I don't want you to go out there. At the same time, I don't want you to tell you stay there and just be, because that might not be the answer either. That's the complicated part, right? You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. I care about you. Yeah. I want you to fucking do good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So next question.
Keith Smith asks, Ronin, what form of combat training do you do?
Nothing. Instinct.
John Gall asks, the West is crumbling under fascism. Do you think the normies will ever wake up?
I don't like all these words, crumbling, fascism. They're all just words. Live a good life. If things aren't the way you want, like when you're in a store, right, and you see some overpriced item, do you buy it? That you don't need? No, you just walk by it. Just walk by it. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about these words. Just to say, oh, this is not good. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get involved in that. But what do I want to do with my life? Like, what focus do I want to have? You know, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And don't spend your energy on painting whatever the picture is and whatever the future is, because nobody knows the future. You know, everybody thinks they do. But when I was telling everybody about Bitcoin at 197, trust me, nobody knew the future. I told all my friends, I said, buy 5 for 1,000. You can't lose, it's only $1,000. And nobody did, you know? So it's like, you know, nobody knows the future. You don't know the future, and nobody does. And words, these words, it's almost like selling dreams. Words are not real. You know, when you learn languages, you learn how words are. Well, there's two parts, right? Being articulate and educated allows you to be more intelligent. So there is part of vocabulary is a key part of intelligence. The ability to describe the nuances in life, right? And to dive deep into things requires an intense, you know, deep knowledge of a lot of words. You got to know a lot of shit, right? To be educated, because otherwise you can't separate. You're just like big wind blows, small tree, you know, large mountain, large rock, heavy. You need words beyond that, right? So the words are important in that sense, but in the other sense, it's just like when you say a word, nobody knows what you really mean. Get ready to just talk about the specific. That's why I said in the meeting earlier, I said, if somebody was talking about when your girl is hypergamy and she's doing this, I said, no. Just think about another guy's cock going into her mouth and her smiling, him blowing his wad and it squirting out of her mouth or something, right? That's what's actually happening. So focus on what's actually happening. Don't use words like cheating. No, because they don't tell you what's really going on.
Yeah.
You need
It's
to
like
know.
obfuscated.
You need to know what's going on so that you can make a good decision. So when that guy got his head cut off when 9/11 happened, and that journalist got his head cut off, nobody wanted to watch the video. I watched the video of that guy's head getting cut off because I wanted to know, what are they actually doing to this guy? I want the truth. So show me the reality of what's actually going on. Once I saw that video, I had a very strong feeling about those guys. But until I saw the video, even though I knew the words, I didn't understand. When I heard him yelling, when I saw the brutality, it changed my life. And I've seen people, I've seen a lot of stuff, travel. I'm pretty sure a guy got beaten to death in front of me in 1989 in China, in Tiananmen Square. I'm like almost 100% sure, because he was trying to tell me the story of what happened. And he was beaten by a lot of cops in front of me with sticks. Pretty sure that guy died. And I've seen a lot of things, and those things are my teachers. I saw those things. I'm not telling you some bullshit story. I saw a man, beaten, probably dead, almost for sure, right? Because of a government, right? So when you see those things, the reason why you don't have strong enough emotions about life is because you don't see things. You need to see things. The words are not the thing. The thing in NLP is the map is not the territory. Okay, so the analogy is you start to make a map of, let's say, San Francisco, and then you draw, the city, and you draw this, And then you say, no, that's not detailed enough. We got to make it bigger. So you make the map a little bigger. You make it bigger. And you're like, no, it doesn't have the details. Finally, the map is as large as San Francisco is. Because it needs to be that big to map everything properly. But a map is just a shortcut to give you some ideas, but it's not the territory. Right? So the word is not the territory. You know, that same concept. It's just a word. If you speak a lot of languages, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's words that don't exist in other languages. There's no way to say it. You know, like a word in English like gnarly. You know, like surfers say gnarly. When you say it was gnarly out there, that is such a deep word. Like a guy surfs, he's like, oh, I get it. Doesn't look like that, but you know, the guy's telling me that. You know, so there's these words that have a lot of meaning to people that are in that field or understand that thing or do that thing. So words can be they can be like a picture where they paint. You might not know why, you just know shit's getting heavy for a guy like that. Fucking something's going on out there. Gotta think twice, you know. Or I gotta get out there, depending on how good you are, right? You're like, God damn it, I'm getting out there right now.
Wait, so what I'm understanding is what you're saying is that it's almost that the seeing and the experiencing must occur before the languaging.
Right, so fascist. Have you lived in a fascist country? Have you seen a fascist government rise? Did you live during like Spain where you see a fascism rise around you? And you know, like it's, you know, it was, you know, so think about how much you know about a word and how much you have seen. Go talk to people who died in fascism and you know, families were killed, and start to get a feeling of these words. Realize how little, you know what I mean? The word is just a word you're repeating, and everybody's like, oh, he said the word, he must know. It's like, think about it. What do you know? And what is the connection? Like, people are always saying, U.S. government is like this, like China's like this. It's like, be careful of these things. Be careful of words, you know? Like,
Good. Kyle Sterling and 28 GBB. It's kind of a different topic. I've been wondering what you thought the main differences were between Chinese and Japanese women, knowing that you have lived there. What do you think are the main difference between Chinese and Japanese women?
okay, I'll start talking, but I want you to comment. You guys agree? Okay, I want to see your comments. So they're very different, extremely different. I don't know where to start, to be honest. You know,
Inside, outside, face versus.
there's so many ways to talk about it. I mean, I think that some guys will tend to gravitate towards Chinese women, and tends to be the guys who prefer the girls that are more, have distinct personalities. You know the guys who like a girl who has like hobbies and she really likes this type of music and she's super into it and she has a very strong opinion about things. That type of guy who likes that is going to gravitate towards a Chinese girl. Whereas Japanese girls are going to more go along with your program, who you are. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, and I prefer the Japanese girls. I mean, if in general, you know, or Taiwanese. Taiwanese are very similar to Japanese. So Chinese, I say, you know, there's a lot of different types of Chinese, but in general, you know, those two things, you know, they're going to be more active and more passive. I would say, you know, these days with China rising, people are traveling a lot. I think Chinese girls take more risks. You know, you have a lot more girls starting companies in China. There's more female billionaires in China than anywhere else. You know, so you have girls doing stuff in China. Now, for me, that doesn't turn me on.
No.
I'm not even interested in it at all. I'm not against it, but it's not like, oh my God, I'm so hard. No. You know, I like girls who they're more traditional, mold into you. Like the traditional female role. You know, you know, like in history, like a guy's into this, and then the girl meets the guy, and then she gets into that. That's very common, actually. It's very, very common. You see that a lot, you know. And I don't mean that in a bad sense. I mean just like in a good sense. Like I like to go to the beach. So my girlfriends would get really into going to the beach with me. And I noticed now, it's been decades, I'll look at their Instagram and I'll notice they're doing exactly what I did with them. And I realized I had a big influence on their lives, you know. They weren't doing it like a chameleon. I was introducing them to, just like I do to you guys, I introduce new concepts. I was doing this to girls all the time. That might be why girls liked me so much, because I was always like myself now, except they were girls. So I was taking them on journeys. I was, you know, experiencing things with them and, you know, all that stuff. I was doing all that stuff with them, you know. So I think if you like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you'll know your personality based on that. That's a good way to think about it. I think in China, it's a bigger country. There's more people. There's a larger variety of DNA. So if you want the absolute hottest body, like genetically, you're probably going to find that in China. You know what I mean? If you want like a unique body type, it's going to be easier to find in China. There's more a big variety because you have the border with Russia, a lot of mixing of the races. China is like a lot of different types of people there. You know, a lot of different types of people. So a lot more variety of people, you know, and also cultures. Like China's not really one country. It's like a lot of countries, right? So, you know, like I can't say one size fits all on the Chinese girls, but Japanese girls tend to be more homogeneous because it's one language. They all watch NHK. You know, the TV programming is the same also. This affects things. And the education is the same. The Mombusho, the education ministry, they control the textbooks. They read the same books. So you tend to get a similar viewpoint on things. So, you know, I'd say that. Let's see, anything else? Think about. I think here's one thing. Let's just say you had a girl and you wanted to take her back to America. If you go to any big city, there's a big Chinatown, right? But the Japantown is either non-existent or very small, or not really full of that life. Now, we had one here that was good, but generally, there's not many Japantowns. So, like a Japanese girl who comes over here often is quite lonely. She might have one Japanese friend that she meets with, and that's if you're let's just say a guy's a traditional guy, and he takes a girl over, right? A Japanese girl, she doesn't have as many ways to cope. So she might be in a depression easier if you took her over here because she doesn't have the support. Whereas a Chinese girl, there's tons of Chinese people. So she's going to have all kinds of options. She's going to be talking to more people doing things, more dinners. And so just like when you go to Thailand, you go to Japan, you deal with confronting yourself and like culture shock, and you need to make friends, and you can't just sit in your room, you know. And what a lot of guys do when they're not good at culture shock is they drink a lot. They just sit alone and drink because they can't cope with it, right? So, you know, she has to cope with stuff too, just like you have to cope with stuff, right? So a Japanese girl doesn't have the same tools at her disposal internationally that a Chinese girl has. Now, a Japanese girl in Japan has everything she needs. So if you're there with her, you know, you're in pretty good, you know what I mean? Everything's good. So, you know, those things you could think about, differences, right? You know. Japanese girls are not violent.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't think so. In general, I don't find them, like there's a different viewpoint. Like a Japanese girl like tends to think, and this is not always true, but let's say something happens to her that's bad. So then you break up. A Japanese girl tends to think, and you guys are listening, I know there are quite a few Japanese guys, you know this is true, right? It's like, I have bad luck. She doesn't like blame it on you as much. She more thinks, I have bad luck because of some karma or whatever. So she doesn't blame you as much, which is interesting. I always thought that was quite interesting. It's a different viewpoint. Every culture is different. And that's what culture shock is. You realize that people don't value the same thing, you know, as you do, right? I think the thing they have in common is Asians don't really believe in truth the same way we do, Westerners. Westerners believe there's right and wrong, and it's not. Asians more believe, Asian culture is, if it is the best thing for everybody, then that's the thing you should say. Whereas, yeah, like the best thing kind of for the situation. Yeah, it's like the best thing to say. And it's very difficult to understand that as a Westerner. But once you understand it, there is a lot of wisdom to that.
I actually
Because-
partially understand that
Yeah.
because my mom was born and raised in China.
Right.
So a lot of that type of thinking we just described was how it was like growing up in my household.
Okay, yeah,
That
yeah.
it was, we need to say, I had to say that. That was the right thing to say was the thing I said. It was a lie, but it was the best thing to say.
Right. And so when you're out with families, you don't get the same kind of like, in an Asian family, the parents don't talk to the kids the same way that a Westerner does. Now, second generation, Asian American, they're Western. And just in the same sense that I'm not Finnish, even though I'm 100% Finnish genetically, I'm not Finnish. I understand a lot about Finnish culture more than most people because, you know, a lot of people, my brother married a Finn and there's Finns all over the place, you know. So sure, yeah, thanks. I can understand stuff, but so Americans will say she's Chinese and then she'll be Chinese American. That's not very smart. She's not. It's not a very good way to describe her. Any more than you'd say I'm British because your family's from Britain. Are you British? No. You know what I mean? Are you German? No. You know what I mean? Like you German heritage, right? It's different, right? So when I say Asian, and I'm talking about Asian culture over there and first generation over here. And maybe some people who grew up in a very, 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 you know, close-knit family, lived in Chinatown, they could also have more of that longer. My family lived in a Finland town in Minnesota. Like they spoke Finnish in this village where my parents grew up. So that was one of those unique situations where the culture dragged on longer than usual, right? So yeah, so don't think when you meet a Japanese American or a Chinese American that these things apply. Because I'm just talking about people that are over there, raised over there, immersed in the culture, part of the culture there. There might be one or two things they pick up from their parents, but in general, let's face it, we're fucking Americans, right? Canadians are Canadians, British are British. We're much more influenced by our friends, the TV shows, the people around us. Like part of me wants to be a little bit more Finnish, because Finnish have some really nice characteristics that I don't have, you know, and I would love to have them, but whatever, you know. All right.
Yeah, on the topic of relationships, what are the top 3 qualities when looking for a long-term relationship, and what are some of the biggest red flags?
Too big a question.
Too big a question?
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people care. Long-term relationship, oh God, what would be? I would say I don't know, and I know. I think this. I personally, and I can't say if everybody can do this, or has this experience, but often when I meet a girl, I right away know if we could be there together for 10 years. Like I kind of know right away. I know, maybe I don't know what the reason, but your first reaction before you start lying to yourself is the most honest. So, yeah, and you will. Yeah, so before that, you know, get that first reaction you had to her. If she seems like she's dishonest or hiding, don't worry about the light. You're much more intelligent than you think. Your instinct is very developed. You know, that's why we rule the world and not like worms or something, right?
Well,
You
yeah,
know.
like a perfect example, I think back when I got married, my ex, from the story I told in the meeting before, that she, in the first several, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seconds of meeting her, I saw her and made this eye connection, and it was the only time I'd ever felt I had like this voice in my head that suddenly said, you better move on. And then I kind of like dismissed it. I was like, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, no, she's cute. And I was exactly that moment. And it knew instantly, like, she's going to be trouble.
I'm telling you the truth. Like, this
Yeah.
is it. You kind of know right
And I
away.
ignored it, and then like
And women are the same way. They look at you, and here's the thing. When you're, like, let's say for myself, when if I'm seducing women, I will push. I will keep trying with her, because once I know instinctively right away if she wants to fuck me. And no, sorry, no. Let me put it another way. Women decide instantly if they're going to fuck you, or if they would fuck you. Instantly. Ask any woman, any women on this channel today, put your comments in the thing. You know, it's right away. You decide right away if you would. Not that you will, but if the time was right, if things were good, would you do it or not? Women decide right away. So if I feel that with her, I will quickly go in and basically be like, I know. And she's like, you know what? It's like, I know. You know. And sometimes they'll say, how do you know? Because I knew right away. And it's like, trust that instinct. That is a God's gift to you. Your ability to see things, and your mind will only try to overcome or make things real that aren't real, or repaint the story. Don't be very careful. Just remember what you first thought. At the very least, I know we can't control ourselves. Okay, you're gonna have sex or whatever, but at least write it down and tell your best friend. Say, my first instinct when I saw her is I need to move on. And then tell your friend that. Say, I know my instinct is good, and I don't want to accept this, and I don't want to move on. And damn it, I'm not going to move on right now, but I want you to know this. And I want you to remind me of this, because this was my honest first impression. That's a good way to handle it. Don't expect yourself to be superhero. If the girl's hot and she's going to bone you, you're not going to move on right away. Come on now. Is it? As my friend says, come on now. In Tennessee, you're not going to fucking move on right away. But if you confront it, screenshot, what was that? What did you call that? The memory, the photographic memory. Photographic memory of that moment, right? Photograph memory of that instinctual first reaction.
There's also that book, Blink. If you,
Oh yeah, Blink. Yeah, I read that.
where you just
Malcolm Gladwell.
know, right? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
Yep.
Trust your instincts.
Trust your instincts. Your instincts are there. They are your gift. At least write them down and take them seriously. Oh, nice. Nice. So we got for sale, $19.99. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Related to this. Do you think that meeting women over the internet is kind of circumvents that? It makes it more difficult, or can you still do that? On.
Can you meet somebody on the internet? I mean, I think your instinct. The more data you have, the more your instinct will be direct, right? If there's fog, you're not going to make as good a decision about something, right? Flying an airplane, but you still do have your instincts. So trust those. Don't make up an excuse to fuck yourself over. Yeah, don't be like, oh yeah, instinct doesn't mean anything, because we're online. Still trust your instincts. She's going to say stuff, you're going to instinctually know she's not telling the truth. There's something she's hiding, That's an important thing to know, And again, you don't have to do anything about it right away, but just force yourself to tell your best friend, say, I want you to remind me of this, It's a good way to do it. Don't expect it to be Superman. Like, oh, well then I'll just move on from this insanely hot girl on this Greek island, this nude beach, I'll just move on, this girl. Not forget this girl. I'll just go sit over there by myself with those old men at the bus stop. Sure you will. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
This question kind of like intertwines together. Any advice? Yaz Sam online asks, any advice for introverts? And the second question that was asked internally, do you have thoughts on how to best build self-esteem for meeting women after being out of the dating market for a while? So I thought they kind of could coalesce those two questions.
I guess self-esteem is, again, okay, to me, this helps. I don't know if this will help you, but anytime you have a tough time and you need to like kind of revamp where you're at, you can do this. Just remember that you are the product of a bunch of successful PUAs, basically. You know, in your history, every single man back, you know, at least 200,000 years were Homo sapiens. And even before that, because he was very similar, Cro-Magnon, we were very similar. You know, go back millions of years. Everybody in your family was able to lay down the pipe with some chick and drive it in there, get that sperm at the right time, and make her fucking come and pregnant and all that shit you need to do, right? Everybody in your family. So no matter how you feel overthinking, you are the product. Do you have any idea of the mathematical possibility that you're here? And how many humans didn't make it? Everybody today that doesn't have a kid will not be that. The generation ends forever because you just need one break in the chain, it's over. So you're a series of successful guys we went over all this time. And that's the very fact that you're alive. So when you realize that, you'll realize it's in you. So even if you're dormant and you're like really old, you're like, you think about it, you're like, fuck, I have to be. Like mathematically, there's no other, it's impossible. And then you think you're probably one out of how many billion to be here. So you have to be. Like you absolutely have it in you to go up and do what you need to do. That's it. It's there. So just trust yourself. You don't worry about some professional PUA, some guy, whatever the fuck. You need the instinct. It's whatever you need that you got the tools. You know, and think about this too. Don't take my word for it. Just read about the odds that your family chain would land all the way down to you from mold or whatever. You know, the original algae, right? You know, we started, the odds are just beyond fathom. I mean, it's just out of control. You have it in you. Go do it. Just go fucking do it. You know, sometimes you don't worry about the specifics. You know, if you want to start a company, sometimes you just got to go start a goddamn company. And you're like, I don't know how. I don't have any friends. I don't have enough money. It's like, you know, when I started, I was just like, I'm just going to start a company. How are you going to do that? I don't know. You know, just fucking do it.
Keith Smith asks, Ronin, do you think money equals happiness? If not, why?
Money equals happiness. I don't think that's a very good question.
All right, we'll go on.
Money equals happiness. I don't know who would say that. I don't get that question because
Maybe
I would say no. The answer would be no.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that.
Yeah, the answer would be no. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Because I know a lot of rich people are not happy. So, you know. Hey, what do you think?
No.
Every rich guy you know is happy?
I know.
This is a guy who's got rich,
I know.
he knows some
Most
rich
of my
guys.
classmates are rich and they're happy if they have the respect of others.
Come talking to the mic. Yeah. What about the three classmates or, you know?
The trouble is a lot of them, if you get money, they'll never get true love because they'll always be asking, does the woman just want me for my money? And if they don't have inherent worth as a physical specimen, you know, they might be nice, they might be kind, they might be highly intelligent, but if they're not, you know, don't have the Chad bod, gals, they're just going to assume that the type of woman that they can attract with their money, they would never have attracted without the money, and so there's always going to be that lingering question, and that drives a lot of unhappiness, actually.
Right.
So I would consider that.
Tell them about how when you're making money, more people come after you too.
Well, that's a longer story.
You're a target. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you have your guard up. We all do. So yeah, you get to be, but you're a target for corrupt men as well. You're a target for
Oh, for sure.
women that are trying to use you.
And the IRS
Yeah.
sends you letters just saying, hey, arbitrarily you owe us this.
Yeah.
And everybody targets you. The police, they give tickets to people who can afford to pay.
Well, if you try to do a
They don't arrest homeless people for stuff because they don't have any money.
if you try to build something here in San Francisco, if they have money, they're going to hit you with the permit, and if they know you don't have any money, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
All throughout California, you put the people that have money are always the ones that the building department shows up on the door and finds them, and the people that don't have any money, they can do whatever they want. It's amazing.
Also, like custody court, guys with money are the guys that get fucked.
Yeah.
If you have no money, the girl avoids custody court because she's going to have to pay you.
The judge told me.
She doesn't want to go to custody court.
The
She doesn't want to pay you.
The judge told me. When
Yeah.
they were putting-
So sometimes it's a relief.
Yeah, when they were extorting
Yeah.
me, the judge said, and I called her a fraud, and I called everybody there a fraud. The judge said, don't worry, I think you'll be out tomorrow morning. That was her justification.
Okay. So I think happiness and money, if you know, I mean, I know so many rich people, I don't see even a connection to their happiness myself.
They just have to.
And these are real people. This is not some theory. Like, these are people, like, even in my family. And I don't see the connection. So,
And then you worry about what you're gonna lose.
not that I don't see the connection both ways. So I don't see it making you unhappy. When I say I don't see the connection, I don't see the connection. Like, you know what I mean? Both ways.
I've heard
Up or down.
talked to people and read that
Different challenges.
Money only amplifies. So if
Right.
you're a miserable person and you add money to that, you become even more miserable.
Right. The basic who you are can come out, right?
Right.
What about the people that have committed suicide? That you were talking about.
Well, I mean, think of all the rich people.
Two
And
of the
then,
three of my classmates that committed suicide is because of a woman.
okay, so 2 out of 3 of his
Wife
classmates.
left them and just they were done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Divorce rate was on the horizon, and
Couldn't, yeah. So yeah, a lot of times, yeah, it can be, I mean, look at rock stars and, death, suicide of rock stars. They have money, but a lot of them commit suicide because they don't know what is real. Everybody just wants to be around them, right? And I tell you one story, a good story. I got a Japanese friend in China, and I went to meet him. He manufactures products for the dollar store, the 100 yen store in Japan. And so we were in his office, in Shanghai. And I said, because he's really successful, but he left Japan with kind of nothing, right? So I said, what is the secret to success for you? And he said, secret's easy. Have no money at all. Go to China. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, yeah, don't have any money at all. That's the best. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And he goes, I came here with nothing. I could hardly pay. I couldn't pay. I had the only people that surrounded me were friends that really cared about me. And so I built a business around those people. He says, other people, they come here with money and then just a bunch of scavengers come around them. And he said, when I started with nothing, that the people that, and then he was able to reward, work with them, give opportunities, because nobody wanted him for his money. And when you go to China, like at that time, like people were just waiting to use you. They just saw foreigners as like money bags, And, so that was his advice. That is a very serious guy. He's super sick. Even just his office it's probably worth at least $4 million, just the office. And he bought it for like fucking $25,000 or something. So, like he made a lot of money just on his office. Plus he had a huge company. He had like 16 factories, but he just did very well with that advice. So, that it really, not having things people want can allow you to build a real life, And this is why rock stars kill themselves, because it really is. It's a very unsettling thing to not know or to think that everybody wants something from you. You know, everybody wants something from you. Nothing is real. Even your friends, everybody just wanted something. They just wanted a feeling of that fame, touch that jacket, that famous jacket, to be in the picture, to say they were friends with you. And the girl married you for money, and all your friends and your brother who talks to you all the time never talks to the sister because you're the famous one. So it even corrupts your own family, right? So it can be rough, you know. Everything has its challenges. I'm not saying it's bad, but I mean, like, that's the type of thing that unsettles you from the ground up. That's why suicide happens, right? It's not just a small thing. It shakes the foundation of your life, right? Because we believe our friends are our friends. We believe, you know, we're not in the Truman Show. Okay, we're going to have to end this pretty soon because we're going on. Hit me with the good ones.
All right, so the last one we'll say is, what's Ronin's idea of a really good summit? And when do you think you've had a really good summit? I guess that's, yeah.
A good summit is when magic happens. Yeah, that's the best word. Magic happens. Magic happens. People share, people change, people with problems, let them go right in the fucking summit. They're like, I came here with this, and I realized, fuck that. I'm just not going to do that anymore. And I've had people do that. It's like, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I've been living this way, and it sucks. And it's fucking stupid. And I was going to come here and push this on you. And you know what? Fuck that shit. I'm calling it myself. Never again. Fuck that. And that happens. People change. And also friendships arise, where people help each other. I see people getting together, helping each other. And, these are the type of things, like real change and real friendships. Those are the things I see them form around. It's not something I say. It's like I see the action happening. I see the people integrating and learning, right? So that's where it's at. That's where it's at. And the light comes on too. I see someone like Sean. The first time I met,
Right.
Like Sean's journey is very interesting, by the way. Like basically everybody hated Sean at the first summit and the second, I think. Yeah. Probably the first and the second, maybe.
Oh, we didn't. No, just kidding.
Yeah. But like Sean was like, he talked about it being socially awkward and everything. And like, it was very difficult. He didn't understand what he was doing. And we were talking and I said, and Sean was like, these guys were doing this, and I said, Sean, we were walking that little path, that wooden thing where we go along the beach.
Oh.
And I said, listen, because you probably fucking pissed him off. You probably did this. And he was like, looked at me like, oh wait, we're going to tell the truth here, And I was like, yeah, you're pissing everybody off now. You probably pissed him off too. And he was like, what do you mean? You mean everybody here is pissed off? I said, yeah, nobody likes you, yeah. He was like, literally, he was just like, what do you mean? And I said, because you're socially awkward and you don't try. You just keep doing the same thing. You're not listening, yeah. And then he was just like, and I never seen somebody change like you. Like you really understood. And you was like, the next time you were just like, you had come like up, I don't know even how you did it, but you were up like 40 levels and like totally changed. And I see you now, it's totally different than even in Boston. I see you coming up really like amazing. And there was a realization that something was not working. There was an acceptance of, like a lot of guys, like the worst thing you can tell them is the truth. Most people do not want to hear the truth about themselves. That's like, just let's go help, let's go change, but let's not talk about the truth, Let's not talk about that, because that's very difficult to change. And it's embarrassing. And I've been doing it a long time, and it sucks ass, And I've lost a lot of opportunities because of this. So there's sadness to confront. There's like, all these things. And like other people are like, yeah, well, bring it on. Yeah, well, here's another opportunity, and bring it on. If I'm not going to do it, this kind of thing, when am I going to fucking do it? Why not? Fuck it. So I think a good summit comes from people, and for me too. I'm exactly the same as you. So I am also growing and learning and changing, and you know what I mean. So it's everybody is like in that mode, right? So I think that's what makes a good summit. That's done. All right. So how about feedback? Anybody want to come talk in the mic? Taking it, throw it out the window. Is there anything anyone wants to say? This is not the last meeting. It's Saturday night, so we got tomorrow, but a lot of heavy stuff. No, we're good. All right. So you guys, thanks first. You guys online, come to a goddamn summit. Don't just listen to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's so different when you meet people. It's so different.
I almost
Yeah.
came to the Japan summit. Almost.
Oh yeah, to the
Almost,
Japan one. Yeah.
Almost.
Oh man, that one happened a miracle. Partly because I got tickets for $99 each way from Japan, from Thailand,
Oh.
and that's partly how it happened. It's partly I saw that and I was like, we're going to Japan Summit.
I remember you talking about
Yeah, I'm like $200. That's amazing. Even if nobody comes, because I didn't know if anyone was going to come. Japan's expensive, and I wasn't sure it's going to work out. But I'm like, I'm going to go. Fuck it. Probably no one's going to go, but I'll go. I'll be there. And then it worked out, right? So sometimes it's like serendipity, right?
Yeah.
SBC, anything? This guy's the number one commenter on videos of all time. He's going to come up, share some of his wisdom there.
This is SBC. I wasn't even aware that I was such a distinguished commenter, but I just
Go right into that side.
yeah. So I just wanted to ask Ronin, man, moving away from the topic of like women and relationships.
Okay, we can do one more for you, yeah.
Yeah, just a real simple one. Just maybe one or two basic life hacks that a red pill aware guy could incorporate into his life. Right away.
Like what?
Well, I remember on one of your videos you talked about something about instant coffee. It could just be something super simple that they could incorporate right away into their life to make their life better and easier.
I would say to realize that your family is just a bunch of strangers, just random people. It's just random people, right? It's just random people. I'm not saying that your shared experience with them is unique and very meaningful, because you can't go back and be an infant again, right? So shared experience is one thing, but you choose your friends when you know who you are and you go and you just like this group, right? We're a very unique group, right? Everybody based on sharing ideas, right? You choose your friends based on how you feel and how you live, right? But your family is just one of these random things. So don't feel so bad. Like, trust your instincts there. If somebody's not trying to hurt you, don't overwrite that with some selling lies to yourself. Like, just accept that there's random people and nobody owes you anything. And, things don't always work out in Disney fashion. But I think a lot of people, they spend their life trying to make things real, or, you know what I mean? Like, you can really spend your whole life trying to make some person be what they're not. So accept those people that are kind of just randomly near you. And like I said, appreciate the time you spent together. Because even if you guys are very different, if you have an experience like you got robbed together or something happened, that's unique. Like, you only have that with that one person, just because of the experience you had together. You were together a lot and that happened. And that's something that you could talk to them and no one else about, right? So there's things like that. I'm not saying it's no mean. But I'm just saying, like, if your instinct is I don't want to say, because I don't want to give you a kind of roadmap for what it could be, but trust your instincts. Don't the old stuff, just do a new one. What's the snapshot? What's the deal here? Accept it, move on. Don't try to make somebody into what they're not. That will save you from a lot of trouble. You can go all the way to your grave wasting time on that one. That's a very good hack. And that cuts off a lot of stuff. Allows you to and also to appreciate the people that just by chance were like super awesome. You know, because like anytime you take random people, you might get a great person you really jive with, that you really have something in common with, right? And then it's extra special because they're in your family and they're close to you, right? You know, so that's totally cool. So appreciate those people, right? But just, you know, trust yourself, trust that instinct, see people for what's going on. Don't be constantly trying to make your family or your friends or your classmates like you have to be this way because we have so many years of friendship together. It's like your instinct is telling you no. It's not happening. But you're like, no, it's my friend since I'm this. So I have to make it happen. You know, you're like carrying this bag of rocks around, just carrying this fucking bag. And it's just not happening. And you're just going to make it happen. You're not going to make it happen. It's not going to happen. This is I tell you from wisdom of the light years I've lived it is absolutely not going to happen. Okay? It's not actually not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So don't spend too much time. You will as a human do it a little bit. You know what I mean? But don't do it too much. You know? And even with guys here, like just you're going to find the people you groove with. Be honest with yourself. Trust your instincts. And if things are good, go deep. Because see, what most people do is they treat everybody the same. Instead of finding a gem and realizing that's a gem. You know what I mean? So part of seeing reality is it allows you about people, is it allows you to appreciate those special people. Because what most people do is they don't do that. So they treat the crappy guy just as good as the good guy. And the good guy doesn't like that. He knows he's a fucking gem. And he knows you're treating these scumbags the same as him. He's just going to go away. And you'll end up with only the scumbags. Because they'll hang around. But the gem, the real gem, the real genius, that guy doesn't have that much time to waste. If you don't see him for what he is, he can hang out with other people. He can go do other things. So that's why you do it. It's not to put people down. It's to find gems, right? And to appreciate those, right? That's why you do it. Not to put people down. It's just realize not everybody's a fucking gem, right? And just, okay, you know. Yeah, forget cars and money and stuff. People are going to make you the most either quote unquote happy or unhappy. It's going to be the people around you, the support system you have. You know, they've done studies like of people who eat really good food, like organic food. They exercise all the time, and they're like 70, and they don't have many friends. And somebody else has a lot of friends, and they eat like McDonald's all the time, and they just smoke cigarettes. And those guys get cancer less than the guys who do everything right but don't have any friends and are lonely. So don't think it's just hairy-fairy. It's real. It affects you, you know. So your friendships, that's what that comes from. It's from that appreciating and seeing. And when you come to somebody and you say, I know you're a gem, and I appreciate that. And the people that are, they'll be like, thanks. They'll know. Like, wow, this guy is able to separate, you know, between people. And that's why I say for myself too, with the opposite sex, with women, is realize that everybody's not the same. And people are different. People are very different, right? So be able to see that will make your life better. Because they are. See, if you don't see it, it doesn't change shit. There's still obstacles in the road, right? There's still oil on the corner. There's dirt on the corner. You're still going to slide off that road, if you know what I mean? Or it's a beautiful road, right? You know, what you think doesn't affect the reality out there, right? So realize that you're not, it's one more thing you can overcome is like start to see other people for what they are and just trust that instinct and go. Just that alone will change your life. That alone. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening and thanks for being here. You guys, thanks the most. This was for you guys the first. All right. Yeah.